Welcome back. I am going to be doing a little flip through today of my travel album from Bali, which we went on this trip at the end of May, beginning of June this year. So I am very excited that I have managed to actually document this whole trip, and I'm notoriously bad at doing that. So I am pretty shocking at doing like these like sort of mini albums. I'm really good at December Daily, and I'm pretty good at my project life as well, but when it comes to these like individual sort of albums and these individual projects, I always fall behind. Case in point, a lot of the products I use in this particular album is actually from Ali Edwards' travel collection in 2019, which I bought that entire collection and they've just been sitting in my craft room unused. This album and a lot of the products that I use as well is from this year's travel collection. So I didn't get the whole collection because I had the 2019 one, but I did get the beach kit because obviously we went to Bali and that's very beachy. It's very pool. We didn't actually spend too much time on the beach itself, but pool, beach, summer, weather, it makes sense. So all together, I feel like this was a really good combination of like kind of beachy vibes, pool vibes, summer vibes, and also just like generic travel sort of sentiments from the 2019 kit, which was a little bit different. And you can see how sort of trends change, I should say, because you can see that the 2019 travel kit has got the size of the papers are the size of the page protectors, like to fit inside the page protectors, whereas since then there's really been this trend to work outside of the page protectors, so a lot of the newer papers are much bigger. So I'm going to jump right in here. So this is my cover page. We were away, actually I'll show you this, we were away for 10 days, and that is how big this album is. I would not put more than 10 days in an album like this, just because it would just bulge out way too much. December Daily is different. I have done December Dailies in an album this size and it hasn't bulged out too much, but yeah, I just generally probably would avoid doing a bigger holiday in an album like this. If I were to take a longer holiday, I would go on a bigger, maybe a 9x12 album size. Okay, so jumping in, this acrylic piece here is from Colorcast Designs, and I've had it for ages in my stash, so I just wanted to use it, and I use it in the front cover. 90% of what I use in here is from Ali Edwards though, so I will let you know if it's not, but generally it's Ali Edwards products in here. Now this is the first page. It was just like from this, I think it was either the specialty paper pack or it just came in the beach kit. It had this beautiful sun, and so I'd used these little letters that I got this month, and these numbers, they're like, I don't know if you can tell, they're gold foil, and I just cut them on gold foil paper using my Silhouette, and I actually repeated this kind of pattern, like this font, on all the title covers, the title pages, which is the cover of every day. Sorry, I'm rambling a bit, but you know, settle in, enjoy my insane baby brain rambles, because trust me, they're a thing. Anyway, I wanted to use this as the cover because I love all the gold and how it contrasts with the blue. So on the back here, it's just a photo that I took from our resort of the beach and the beautiful like palm trees in Bali. And I stuck this onto the acetate just using red line tape, but I made sure, if you can see there, that I don't know if you can see, but I just cut the red line tape into really skinny strips, so it just falls under the gold foil part, and so you can't really see it. I don't really mind that on the other side here you can see it, because like I feel like if you open this up, your eyes are going to fall on the photo directly. So that is the little opening page, and then this is my just a little itinerary page, so I didn't jump right into the daily pages. And this is just, this paper was from the Numbers scrapbooking kit, I believe, and I just used a alpha stamp from, where was that from? Citrus Twist Kits, I believe. I think it's called the Sophie Alpha, just to stamp out like a bit of what we did every day. And I like that. It's just like a little catch-all. It's also got the dates here because I don't have the dates necessarily on every day inside of the album. So I do like having just the dates that we went in here. This piece of vellum was also from the kit, and I didn't do anything to it because I thought it was lovely, and I like how it breaks up this page. Now, going into page number 1, or day number 1. So for all 10 days, I started with the formula where I have a large full page photo, and I use these little starburst, sunbursts die cuts that we got in the kit, and I die cut from my silhouette the numbers. So, and then I added a chipboard star. Now, we only got 8 of these in the kit, and like I said before, I was documenting 10 days. So I used the vellum pieces that we got in the big vellum pack in the beach kit, and I used those to kind of, on 2 of the days, replace this little starburst pattern. But I really like how that turned out. It just something to introduce the page. I didn't embellish these pages in any other way because I really wanted the photo to speak for itself. So I tended to choose my favorite photo from the day, or the one that tells the story most from the day. And then what I did, I printed all my photos at once, put them all in there, and then I took every single day kind of individually. So once I had all my covers printed, I then looked at my photos. And so, I'll move this over a bit, there you go. And so what I did a lot of in this album is I used my digital stash. I've got a huge amount of Ali Edwards digital papers and digital journaling spots, largely from story kits or the scrapbooking kits as well. And I've got them, so I was like, I may as well use them, because while I was on this trip, actually daily, I did my journaling at the end of the day. So all of my journaling from this trip generally was done electronically, and so I needed to find a way to bring that onto the into the album. And I came up with different ways to do that, but one thing that you'll see is a repeated element is I did my journaling on these full page protector sized photos, or sorry, papers that I then cut to size. So this is all of my journaling from day number 1. This is, I used these kind of like 2 by 2 inch squares, page protectors a few times during the album, but like I said, every day I try to do something a little bit different just to spice it up, change it up a bit. There are some consistent elements, and I did try to make sure that I sorry about that. I did try to make sure that I kept repeating some of these elements to have like a consistency throughout the album. So something like this, I use these page protectors 3 times in the album. I did, for example, what else? So I did like these type of journaling cards maybe 3 or 4 times. So everything in here is repeated, which means that it is consistent even though every page was different. But anyway, so this is the first day we were there. We flew out in the evening and actually arrived at like 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. in Bali the next morning. And we live it's about a 3-hour flight. So this here is sort of the first day that we were there, Emila on the plane, and then when we checked into, we just stayed at a hotel that was very close to the airport, just because it was like a 5-minute trip from the airport, and we didn't want to have like a massive long trip, especially because it was just going to be for the one night, and we didn't want to spend money on the expensive resort to if we're only going to be there from like 3 o'clock onwards. So we got like a actually really lovely small little hotel with a beautiful pool, and so this is kind of that. We woke up the next morning and the bed was huge. We had a swim, we had a little walk. This was in Kuta. And then this flipping over, this goes on to when we actually went to Nusa Dua for our main part of the holiday. So we split up our trip into 2 parts. So we stayed at Nusa Dua at Holiday Inn Resort for 5 days, and then the next 5 days we went to Hard Rock Resort in Kuta. So you'll see that kind of division here because it's very different the way that the things that you can do at the place. But anyway, so this was when we were just checking into the hotel. We were waiting just to get ready, so we had some lunch. I was pregnant when we were here, but I was quite early on. I think I was like maybe a few weeks pregnant, maybe 8 weeks or something like that. And so I hadn't told anyone yet. We told family, but we hadn't told anyone else yet. And we hadn't told Emma until later in this album. But I kept posting photos because people would have expected me to post photos of my cocktails, and they were in fact mocktails. They had no alcohol in them. But funnily enough, I've noticed in my journaling auto-corrected this sentence. So it was meant to say, a mocktail and a fruit platter for this pregnant lady. And instead it said, a cocktail and a fruit platter for this pregnant lady. So I seem very irresponsible, but I'm not. It's just autocorrect. And I was definitely drinking non-alcoholic drinks. So I love the colours of this kit, how well the beachy theme match with what we were doing on a daily basis. Now, we also got these cards in the kit. Again, we got 8 of them, so I kind of had to Frankenstein my own one on 2 of the days. But I decided to pair these cards with a bit of a transparent element on the final page of the day. So on the last part of every single day, I have a page protector that's got a 3x4 card there, which is this one. And in this card, obviously I wrote this now. I just wanted to write down like 3 things that I didn't capture in my journaling that I wanted to remember. So I'd repeat this throughout the whole album as well, which you will see. Some of these page protectors have just the 4 3x4 pockets. Some of them have 2 4x6 pockets, which is this one. So I actually had to stick this together because that's just one piece. But generally the layout will match this vibe. So that's day 1. It was all just about swimming in the pool, checking into the resort and having some lunch, and we were exhausted. And then we go on to day 2. And I love this photo of Emila's face. It makes me very happy. She was just so excited. She really came out of her shell and she just like so enjoyed this holiday. And I feel like that's one thing I really wanted to capture, was just how excited she was during this holiday and how thrilled she was to be in Bali. And even to this day, she's still asking, like, when are we going to go back to Bali? When are we going to go back to Bali? And yeah, she just like loved it. And she got a bunch of dresses on like our first day in Bali. And then she wore them non-stop. She refused to wear any of the clothes that we actually bought for her, which was quite funny. So this is the intro to day 2. I just love that photo. And then here I decided to do my journaling on one of these cards. So these are true 3 by, what do you call them? 3x8. Yep, these are true 3x8 sizes, and they're meant to go inside the page protector, but obviously I wanted to keep it outside because I wanted to back it with a larger photo. So I'm just taking this paper from the beach kit and the matching craft paper, and I'm putting them next to each other. And so that's where I put my journaling. For any journaling that I put on elements that were already where I had the physical product, I just used sticker paper and I stuck it on there. So you can't really tell, it's maybe a bit glossy, but yeah, that's my journaling from day 2. I kind of have this cluster of photos from our day. This Wanderlust piece, I really like how it sits there. I don't know why. I feel like when I put all these photos down, I put them slightly too centered, or I put them centered, which means that they look off center because of the hole being punched. And so I was really glad when I found that I could put this piece from Color Cast Designs there. So I like how that looks. Just a little snapshot shot of the photos of the day, and then a picture of Emila that evening. So again, I repeat the same thing, the 3 things I want to remember, and then I have a photo on the other side, so I thought I would decorate this part as well. This paper is from the 2019 travel collection, and these alphas, I think they're from the Storytelling Basics, maybe, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but I've had them in my stash for a while. There I use I think this is a Heidi Swap piece of acetate as my transparent element, and then I've got another photo and some back-to-back chipboard. This is such a funny story because we went to like a Balinese night which was held at our resort, and Emila actually loved these performers to the point where during one of the breaks, because I had live performances, during one of the breaks she walked up to a waiter in the at the restaurant. It was not a restaurant, it was outside, but she walked up to a waiter and asked the waiter to take her. We had no idea this was happening. We were just like watching her from a distance. She asked the waiter to take her to the dancers so that she could ask the dancers if the next time they come out, if she could dance with them. And they said yes. And so she did like a dance with this lady here. And she was so proud of herself. And she was just like beaming because she did this dance. And it was just like, I think there were so many other people like just in awe because this child just has the confidence to just stand up in front of like 100 strangers and just dance. And she was just like, oh, it was just such a moment. We had a few people come up afterwards and tell us about how incredible that was. So I had to document that. And that is largely in my journaling here, where I talk about that. Now, moving on to day 3, this is when we went to Bali Safari. And this was a fantastic day. We just fed animals. We saw like live animal shows. We did the safari. They have like a water park there, so we could go on the water park. So it was just really such a good day. So it was fun to document that. I love how this page turned out. This is the die cut piece that we got in the Wonder story kit, and I love how I paired that with the little geotag, what's that called? Wood veneer. And then I have some journaling down here just to start off the day. Now, as you can see on this day, I used a lot of like more of the greens because it wasn't really so beachy, it was more foresty. And I used this page protector again because we had a lot of photos that I wanted to document. So I picked all my favorite ones. I created these little repeated clusters, which I do on the back here as well. This is all the Emma's face seeing the elephant. She was very excited. And yeah, I just like how these pages look. I use that same acetate paper piece from earlier in the album as well. And here we have, this was one of the scrapbooking kits. This was a digital paper that I just printed out. Now, one thing I should say is I printed out all of these on photo paper. And the reason is I got a new printer and I want to use up my ink. So normally I would probably not print them on photo paper. They look so much better on photo paper, but I would normally not print them on photo paper because like, my goodness, that's expensive. But in this instance, I actually just wanted to use up all of my ink. And yeah, so that's why it's all printed on that. So I just added my journaling. And the reason I chose this paper is because I felt that it matched really well on this side and also on this side. Like, I just think it was all very cohesive. And there was like, you can see there's even some zebra stripes down the side there, and there's a zebra there, and I was just like, perfect, let's go for it. So that's why I used this paper, just printed my journaling directly onto there. This was what was this? A layered template from Week in the Life from a few years ago that I never used. And I thought it was a good way to add even more photos. But the problem is I sized it wrong because it's a true 6x8 size because it was designed for inside of the page protector. And so what I did is I blew it up to be the height of the page protector, which I actually don't know what the height of the page protector is because I know that it is exactly the same size as an A4 piece of paper if you lay it landscape. So I don't measure the height. I like just blow up the photo. When I put it on Photoshop, I just make sure that the photo at the top and the bottom touches the edges of the paper, and then I know that's the right height. So I sometimes change the width, but I didn't do that here. And so normally if I do that, it's not a problem because like there's just white space, right? So I don't have to worry about it. But sorry, tongue twisted. But because this cuts off here, I thought it would look weird to have a continual white space, so I just used this Citrus Twist page inserter thing to put that in, and I like how that looks. Another one of these little pages, use some felt hearts that we got in maybe the Hearts scrapbooking kit, and on the way home from this Bali Safari, she fell asleep with her little tiger that she got there, and I had to document that because she was exhausted. She was so tired. Then the next day we were just relaxing at the resort. She's just obsessed with going in the pool, so she swam for like 4 or 5 hours this day. And I used, again, this is from a scrapbooking kit, or is it? I don't know now, but it's in my digital stash. And if you ever want to know specifically where a paper came from, let me know in the comments below. I am happy to find it for you, basically, and let you know. So I used this I really loved these vellum pieces, especially on these big photos. So you'll see I do this quite a few times where I use this vellum piece on top of a big photo because they see through. You can't really see on camera, I don't think, but you can definitely see it in person, and they see through enough that I can still see the resort behind there. So I really like how that look. I paired it with one of these little pleather stickers that we got in the 2019 kit, and all of my journaling is on these 3 papers just because I thought the colours matched well. Oh, sorry, these 3 columns. This was just a filler page because I loved this. It was actually like a photo of people surfing, and I thought it was just so beautiful, but I needed something on it, and so I cut out this little quote from the from my silhouette, and I just stuck it on there, and I really like how that looks because this was just a day where really we stayed at the resort and we rested. In the 2019 kit, we got a lot of these acetate hexagons, and so I tried to use a fair bit of them in this album because I really like them. They're a bit tricky to use, but I really like how they look. So in this instance, I just used it over the course of 2 of photos to kind of bring them together. And I also like that it's kind of like an arrow that points to Emila's pizza because we were having lunch by the pool. And guys, she did not eat anything but margarita pizza on this holiday. I am so sick of seeing margarita pizza, and I do document that in here, which is good. Just some more from this day. I started off taking way more photos early on in the holiday, as you do, and then towards the end I take less photos, so there's less inserts down the back. But that's just how this looks. She had her face painted. That was this, so she would look the same as her little tiger there. So we took her to Kids Club, and she loved it, but they did face painting, and so she got her face painted, which she was like thrilled about. I did this little tag cluster here, and on the back here, it doesn't bother me that you can't really see what's written on there because you can clearly see this one not so much, but it was just more to have something there that wasn't blank. Love that photo of Justin just like relaxing in the pool and me with baby in my belly reading. So day 5 was interesting because we were still like so exhausted, even though we had gone on a like rest day. We'd had our rest day, but then day 5 happened and we were still tired. And this day actually I was sick. Like the morning sickness had really kicked in before we went to Bali, and I was lucky that it wasn't too bad, but on this day it was particularly bad. Like I felt so unwell. We went to a shopping centre and we stayed there for like maybe 30 minutes to have lunch and then come straight back home because I was so unwell, and Emma was like still tired and we were just like not feeling it. And so I used this paper, again digital paper, just to do some journaling about how we just like basically came home and watched movies in bed, which was just what I needed because I was just feeling so unwell. Oh my goodness. The nausea just hits you and there's nothing that makes it stop. There's just literally nothing. Taking snacks and having some snacks helps, but oh wow, it was bad. And I never had morning sickness when I was pregnant with Emma, and so this completely shocked me. Like I was like, what is this? Anyway, moving on. I used this was from, I think it was, let me have a look, Ellie Studio. They have these stamps that look like fake stitching. So I used them on the bottom there just to have some interest. These are like little puffy hearts that are gold that I kind of put in the end there. And yeah, so I like how I decorated that filler page, and then, that journaling page. And then this is a filler page. Just, I didn't need to do anything to this. I thought it was beautiful as it is. And it matched my little see-through element, which is just here, where I layered some of the vellum shells. So I used the rest at the front here, but I layered a few of them here as well. And then this little piece of puffy sticker says, headed for warmer weather. And this idea is from Nalana, not from me. And so she did the travel. She did a project in the travel class where she did this, and so I was like, yes, I'm doing that. It was a nice, interesting see-through element that then ties back into this page. This is on one of the days when I didn't have a card that said remember, and so I just slotted them in twice, and then but this says memories, and it's got that same matching font from like a few of the other cards that I used in the kit, so I think it worked out well. This was just a map, a card from the 2019 kit that looked like a map, and I just wanted to put a little quote. So I just googled travel quote and I liked that one, and I never even wrote who said the quote, but you know, this album's just for me, so I don't really mind. But I use that same, any stamping that I do is using that Sophie Alpha stamp, so sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied, so it stayed consistent throughout the album. So for day 6, this was the day that we left Nusa Dua and we went to Kuta to check into the Hard Rock Hotel. And so we spent the morning just by the beach, and I was just reading and we were swimming and relaxing, and then we hopped over to the next day. This has to be probably one of my favorite double page layouts in this album, because basically what I did here, I used this paper, this blue paper, which matched the color in my digital journaling, and then I used a border punch. And because I just wanted pops of yellow, because there was yellow in some of these photos, because of that I chose this yellow card, but I wanted it to be a bit more interesting and undimensional, so I used a border punch and I just laid it on the bottom here, and I love how that looks. I feel like it just ties these two pages together. I also love using these like little puffy stickers that I think I got from Ellie's Studio as well. And then I felt like I just needed to put like one little item on each of these little cards, embellish some of these photos with some tiny word stickers, again from the 2019 kit, and then this was done. And this actually, I should say, is on this like little scallop border page that we got in the kit. I don't know if you could tell, but yeah, it was just like a good place for the stories, and I really liked how that looks. Yeah, so this is when we checked into the new resort. Emma said goodbye to the lady that I had been taking care of her at Kids Club, and she was really sad to go. And we got Emma a little pink flamingo, a floaty, which she loved for about 30 seconds, and then she realized that if she's in the floaty or if she's like on top of it, she can't dive underwater, and she's obsessed with diving, and so the floaty was forgotten in the pool, which made me laugh. What did I want to say next? Oh yeah, so this is, I should also add, when you're traveling with a kid, and if you've got a kid you know this, when you're traveling with a kid, there's not a lot of sightseeing that you do. What you tend to do is spend a lot of time by the pool, and I don't have as many photos of views as I would normally have if this was a album that I did for when we went to Japan, for example. It was a lot of landscapes, a lot of views. We didn't do that much sightseeing because we have a 5-year-old who is very much just obsessed with the water and swimming, and so a lot of the photos in here, they're not really of these big beautiful views, which is fine. Like, it tells the story of our holiday, but I just wanted to explain to you why that is the case. So this is another photo that we have of the view. This is from our resort and looking out over where the pool is, and then just on the other side there is Kuta Beach. So this is one of the best view photos that I had, and so that's why I put it in there, as well as the one I had at the beginning of the album. The other thing is, when you have a child with you, I kind of forgot to get ephemera and to bring it home with me on this holiday. I don't really know why, because I see everyone putting these like beautiful maps and brochures and everything in their albums, in their travel albums, and in this, like, I was pregnant, I had morning sickness, I had a child who just wanted to swim, and we didn't go to any little touristy attractions except for Bali Safari. And then at that, I actually got this photo printed, which I thought I might put in the album, but I couldn't find a spot to fit it. So this is pretty much the only ephemera that we have from our trip. And that's okay. Other holidays might have more ephemera, but I just wanted to explain to you why I don't have any ephemera in here. Now, we just stayed at the resort that day. We had delicious dinner by the pool. That is the biggest hot dog I've ever seen in my entire life. And it made me very happy. Also, for some reason, I decided to do the little transparent element down here, which is the only time I did it, and I don't know why, but I do like how it looks. I just think it's an interesting choice that I must have made when I was pretty tired. This is a funny little story because we had 2 beds. Every other place we'd been to, we had just 1 large bed, but when we got here, we got 2 double beds. So we had been sharing the bed, all 3 of us, and then we got here, we're like, this is great. Emma can have her bed, and then Justin and I can have our bed. And we were delusional to think that that would be the case because obviously she would want to share with one of us. And so instead of her having her own bed every night, we took turns sleeping in the bed with her, and then the other one of us got to have the bed to themselves, which is so funny because it's just so not something that we thought about, and we should have thought about it. It is very obviously the case that she's not going to want to sleep alone because she doesn't like sleeping alone as is. So I thought that was a funny little story. And again, all of my journaling is here about that. Like, I included all of that. I don't know that I would have remembered that if it wasn't for the journaling and the photos, so I'm glad that I have that combination to look back on and remember. The next day we went to Waterpark, which was quite close to our resort, maybe like a 10-minute taxi ride in traffic, and it was so good. Like I said, I was pretty pregnant, so I shouldn't have gone on many of the rides or slides because there are no rides there, but I didn't care. I wanted to go on the slides. This is another one of those those layered templates that I got from Week in the Life a few weeks ago. And again, I sized it slightly wrong this time. Less wrong than last time, but then this time I was just like, I'm just going to put the holes in. I'm not going to reprint it. I used a lot of photos from the day. What I accidentally did, silly me, is because I printed the cover photos way earlier, and then I started periodically working through every page, and I did a lot of the prep work digitally. And so I was just laying in bed because that's where I like to do my digital prep work. And I couldn't be bothered coming out here to check which photo I had used because we had 3 photos that was very similar to this one. And then I just guessed, and I guessed wrong. So that same photo gets repeated here twice, which is quite funny. But I don't know if anyone has been to Waterpark, but it's really cool. It's basically a massive water slide park. But what they do is you get like a little wristband, and then they've got photographers throughout the park that takes pictures of you and your family throughout the day, and then you just scan your wristband once they take the picture, and then it all gets uploaded, and at the end of the day you can go and you can just pay to get your photos. You can either get them printed, or I just paid like $30, which I think is about $22 American, to just have all of the photos that we had during the day provided to us digitally, which is really good because then you don't get your phone wet because you're basically in the water the whole time, which was great. And so I was really happy about that. On this day, we did hire a little gazebo because it had a little lockbox in there. Now, you can see that there's the gazebo there and there. But so we did have like a home base that we kept coming back to. So I do have some photos that I did take on my phone, including this one here of like our very smiley little girl. And this photo here and this photo here, they're basically the photos that I took during the day. Everything else was taken by these photographers, including this fun underwater picture. Emma had made some friends and they took some photo underwater, which was really cool. So here I did that same thing again where I have this journaling card where I printed all my journaling and then I just backed it. This paper might be from the Explore Story Kit. I think. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I used this paper because I like the way the greens matched. On this side, just added a few more papers. It's funny, everywhere you go in this park, they get you to do like the peace sign. And I don't really understand why that is because I never do a peace sign in my photos, but I think it's just so like your arms are not just hanging there, and which I don't personally mind, but I think the photographers in the park get told to say peace. And so in like so many of these photos, we've got the little peace sign out, and I would just literally never actually do that myself. But it's just so telling that like this is not me being the photographer, so I quite like that. It's kind of got like a different voice in my album. I added this little photo here, which is not a repeated photo, which made me happy. And this Explore, that's definitely from the Explore kit. And I like how the colors from this card matched the colors of Justin's shirt. So moving on, this is day 8. As you may imagine or be able to tell, this is the day that we told Emma that we were having a baby. This is an example of where I used that vellum piece instead of that die cut piece to back my 08. And yeah, this photo is black and white. I do have a colored photo that I use later on as well, but I think the black and white one is a bit more special because it's like a really important moment that I don't want to forget. So a lot of my journaling just went into this piece of paper. So this was from the Begin Story kit, I believe. But because the title was something like A New Beginning, it didn't really make sense. So I just erased it, used this little stamp from the whole story kit online, I think it was, and added a little chipboard, some hearts and puffy stickers, and then that was all I did to that. And I just did a big chunk of journaling here. Sometimes you will see that I split up my journaling, but in this instance I decided to just keep it all in one because it was quite a big story to tell us, like telling Emma that we were having a baby. She had been like begging us, almost bullying us for a year almost to have a baby brother or sister, and we didn't know if we wanted more children. We were kind of talking about it. She is 5, and so we were thinking maybe it's past the like date where we should have. Anyway, so it was like a big discussion, but she was unrelenting. She just constantly asked for a baby brother and sister, and she would constantly tell us, what I want most in the whole wide world is a baby brother or a baby sister. And so when we actually filmed this, and I do write this in the journaling, when we told her that she was having a baby brother or sister, we started by saying like, what do you want most in the whole wide world? And then her response, of course, was a puppy. And we're like, no, it's the wrong answer. But we kind of like navigated away from puppy into baby. So it was like a very special moment, and I do document it here. What else we do on that day? We went to just have some lunch. I had an iced coffee. She had another margarita pizza. Surprise, surprise. What else? This was after so we went to lunch, and then we came back to the resort, and then we told her, and then we went back into the water for a swim in the afternoon. So this is just photos from our swim. I absolutely adore this photo because she's so happy because they've got a little swim-up bar for adults and for kids, and so she could order herself and drink a milkshake in the pool, which if you've ever seen a child drink a milkshake, then you know that they tend to spill it, and it was really gross, and I'm glad that I don't have to clean that pool. Now, this page is bigger than any other page in the whole album, and the reason is because I couldn't really cut down the backing paper here. So the full-size page, oh my goodness, the full pages, the papers that we got, that is the same size as the page protectors, are actually a little bit bigger than the page protectors. So everywhere else in the album I could cut them down slightly, but in this instance, like because they've got this border there and I wanted to use this paper, I couldn't. And so this singular photo is bigger than the rest of them. I like how I did the embellishing there. That's a bit of stamping I did on the back of that tag there. And then this is another piece from Colorcast Designs that we got. And I like how I could use these papers as like resting places, and I did that a few times, as you would have seen, and I do it a little bit later on as well, just to have a resting place for the eye. And they were such good papers, so I really liked that I could use them. Here is like another other photo of after when we told her she wanted to take a photo of her like touching baby, and so we took that photo, which was sweet. And then this is a story about how that evening we were quite tired, so we just had room service. So I like that day. It's very green. So the pool at this resort was very green, and the pool at the previous resort was very blue. So I had to kind of shift my colours a little bit to more of greeny toned colours, but I don't mind that. It meant I can use more of the products, which is good. And the beach kit was very versatile in that sense. This is now day 9. And again, I just told this little story of Emma getting her hair done. This backing paper was from the kit, and then this was digital. I don't know what kit that was from, sorry. maybe happy, the story kit. But anyway, I used this digital card. I made it a bit smaller, and just so I could tell the story of her getting her hair braided. Then we found like a fish tank by the side of the road in Kuta where the little fish eat the dead skin off your toes, and it's so tickly. But I like, again, this page just because it's more of a resting page than anything else. And I like the angle that I took this photo at. That's Justin's legs and that's my legs. And then I could just use a little chipboard on it and call that done. On this day, I just did my journaling directly on this part of the photo because the guy took a photo for us, which was really nice of him, but there was just like a lot of space there, and I didn't really know how to deal with that because I couldn't cut it down because then we wouldn't be in the photo. So I just thought that could be a space for journaling, and then it has a use. Added the little pleather sticker there, and then moving on. I love this photo. Justin was carrying Emma because she decided that she just couldn't walk another single step, and she laid down on the floor on the sidewalk, which is never a clean thing to do. And so Justin's like, okay, I'll carry you. So he carried her in the sweltering heat. Like when I say this heat was sweltering, it was like we were dripping. We also got some ice cream, and the ice cream, like within like a minute or two, it was melted. So it was a very hot day. So I'm very impressed with Justin and his like commitment to dadding. He was carrying her. We were far away from the resort at this stage as well. Like it was a decent walk. This is now our last day. That makes me so sad seeing it come to an end. But you know, like I've got all these beautiful memories, so I don't mind. This was just a day that we spent at the resort. We had hired a cabana at Hard Rock. So I don't know if you saw in the earlier photo, but there's all these cabanas like that lines the pool, and it's a giant pool, my goodness. But yeah, so we hired one of those cabanas and we just stayed there the whole day. It was great. And it had these like stone steps that went right into the water. And then on the other side of this page, I used this template from Shannon Pages because honestly, guys, I was done being creative at this point. Like, I just wanted to get these photos in the journal and I didn't want to think about it. And so I just got this template from Shannon Pages. It's the same template, but on this one, I just removed the title and I copied this element and dragged it up. So I did this in Photoshop, and it like took a very, very short period of time. And then I got to put a lot of photos from that day in this particular layout. It was really good because just across from where we were sitting, there was like a little fake beach, and Emma could play in the sand and we could watch her. Then we could go to the water slides. They have these incredible water slides. Had lunch delivered, did lots of reading. I absolutely adore this photo. I don't know if you can tell, but it's a photo of Emma and Justin. And Emma is watching a movie on the iPad and Justin is reading on his Kindle, and they're striking in the exact same pose. And it just like struck me as being like such a father-daughter moment, and it was really funny. So yeah, that is, I put my journaling, just printed out. Like I said, I didn't want to think anymore, so I couldn't come up with a creative way to do more journaling. So I just stuck it on a piece of paper and stuck it on this paper, which I really liked from the kit, and called it done. Again, I couldn't really decide what I wanted to do for this transparent element, so I just took enamel dots that I have in my stash and just stuck them back to back. They're chunky, but I think they're cute. They look kind of like bubbles in the water. This is the final card that I kind of had to Frankenstein. I got this stamp from the Remember kit, so I used the Remember stamp, whereas everywhere else it was written, but it's in Ali's handwriting, so it is the same. And then, I don't know if you saw, but on every card I'd stamped loving the little things. And then, again, counting down 1, 2, 3. This was the final dinner that we had, and then I just wanted to end it. I don't actually have many photos of myself on the last day, but that's okay. I don't need lots of photos of myself, but I wanted to end it on this photo of Emma looking so happy. Like, that smile just makes me very happy. And then the final little bit that I have is I just wanted to do some journaling about flying home, and about Emma and how she was on the plane, and how we came home to the most insanely stormy weather. It was June, so it's technically winter in Bali when we came home, but it was so summery because obviously it's a very beautiful tropical climate. And we came into like stormy weather. It was just such a contrast. But yeah, that is the end of the album. I just used this paper from the 2019 kit to close it off, and that's done. So use a little chipboard there as well of the plane. So yeah, that is the album. I am thrilled that it's done. I love that I have these memories recorded and that I am going to have this for the rest of my life, and that these stories are told, because it's really been, this was our first proper international family holiday. We have been overseas once before when Emma was a baby, but she doesn't remember that, and then COVID happened, and so this is our first overseas trip in a long time. And I really love how this album looks. I love how every page is different, but I've got the elements that are kind of consistent throughout. And yeah, it just makes me very happy to page through this. I like the combination of the written and the typed journaling. I like how I used a lot of my digital stash, which made me happy. I used a lot of the papers and a lot of elements from the beach kit. So yeah, this whole album just brings me so much joy, like you have no idea. I'm not necessarily a scrappy completionist, so I don't always finish my projects, and so to have this done and to just have like knuckled down and did it, like I'm quite proud of myself. So I'm just finishing going back through these last few pages, and with that I will be done. So thank you very much for joining me for this very long chatty video, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you again very soon with another video. Bye.